who is going to be taking us and speaking more centered on healing, emotional wellness, mental health, and that tripartite wholeness in the family space, and how what we do within the family can make or break who we are, and how we have to be sensitive in the spirit. Over to you, Miss Precious.
Thank you so much. It's beautiful that I'm here back here again with every other person this month, the month of May. And it's so beautiful. When I had Dr. Grace talk, I was like, wow, did she read the notes I made? Was she there when I was studying? But I think the Spirit of God is just one actually. So today I'll be more centered on like mental health and how it starts from the home. That way we can create a safe emotional space. Because I know we've talked a lot about emotional health, we've talked about emotional intelligence, we've talked about communication here, we've talked about so many other things, and now we're talking about the tripartite wholeness. But for us to excel and be all those things Dr. Grace has mentioned and what Travis had mentioned in their own time when they were communicating with us, we have to make sure that we have a good and a safe emotional space, right? For us to strive, we have to make sure that we are in a good and a safe emotional space. So that is what I'll be focusing on today. And I'll be talking about how we can use this emotional space to strengthen families and even the individual life in general, because that all begins from our family. Now, mental health is not just about avoiding depression. It's not just about avoiding anxiety. It's about how we think, how we relate with other people, how do we handle life challenges, and where do we first learn how to manage our emotions? Where do we first learn how to connect with people? The simple answer is at home. We learn all this from our house. Now, our house is the first environment we experience things. We experience every single thing. They're meant to be a place for comfort. It's going to be a place for healing. It's going to be a place for growth. But if we're not careful, they can also become a place for silence, a place for pressure, a place for emotional harm. And that is why healing the home is the first step to strengthening both our families and even our individual lives. And in turn, saving our communities and the nation as a whole. So I'm going to group this into different sections where I talk about different things and how they can impact us as individuals. But the first thing I'm going to talk about today is the home shapes our mental health. Thereby, it also helps us weigh our strengths. Now, from childhood to adulthood, our mental health is shaped by what we see, what we hear, how do we feel at home. It could be from loving words, it could be support, it could be emotional safety. All this helps build resilience in us as individuals, which is the core for an individual's strength. Now, on the other hand, constant shouting, criticism, or even emotional neglect can leave a deep scar in an individual and also affect how we parent, how we love, and how we live as an individual. Because a lot of times when you hear older people talk about things and you're like, oh, they went through all this trauma, you discover that it's what they learned while growing up that they have, because that's all they have to offer, that they give their children, and this keeps going on like a repeated cycle, right? So this also affects how we get to parents, how we get to live our lives, and how we get to even express love as a person. Now, I'm pretty sure in your head, we're going like, okay, let's ask ourselves, is my home a place where people feel safe to speak, right? Do they feel safe to be themselves? Do they feel safe to even struggle as a person? Now, strong individuals are not just born. I know a lot of times they're like, oh, strong individuals, they are born a leader here. I get that, but a lot of times they are nurtured, right? And strong families do not happen by accident because people have to put in the effort. We have to take note of our mental health. We have to take note of our emotional spaces. We have to take note of our resilience, our communication, emotional intelligence. We have to take note of even our faith as a person. These are all built through intentional emotional care, right? And then emotional safety is just as important as our physical safety. That is the second point I'm going to be addressing. I'm pretty sure when we get home at night and we're going to bed, the first thing we do is lock our door, Make sure the security lights are on. In case you see any movements in your surrounding, you can know the right number to call, right? That's the first thing we do. But the truth is that just the way we take care of our physical safety, we should also make sure that we're taking care of our emotional safety.